First and foremost, I want to give all praise to Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai, double honors to the elders of Great Millstone, and salutation to all y'all came on a husband by his bidding to this marriage. Display. Never. Alright. Make sure my phone doesn't turn off, during when I'm talking. I'm getting to this history of Thanksgiving because Jake is I don't you know till the Lord comes back, Jake ain't gonna do the right thing, we all know that. Jake talking about how they don't go there, they don't celebrate it for but they said they don't celebrate for the slaughter, what happened to the so-called natives God, but you're still eating and feasting on that day with turkey and all that other like, why can't you eat? Why you gotta gather up your family on that day? Why didn't you? Why don't you do it all year round? Be around your family. You know what I mean? Why not do it? During the high holy days. But you saw Jake. I mean, Jake ain't gonna do that, right? Jake ain't gonna look into their history and who they are. Jake's too busy focused on Esau's holidays. The Bible is a white man's book, yet you're celebrating his holidays. You learn in school that Christopher Columbus discovered America, the Pilgrims and the natives were good friends and all this, but this is all a lie. Look at this. American mythology that holds that Pilgrims and Indians united 400 years ago for the first Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving in the U.S. is traditionally a time for family and food. You should always. There's so many days out the year. The only time Jake want to get together is on New Year's. Only on these wicked holidays, Jake. Christmas, New Year's, Halloween, Thanksgiving, Easter. Always want to celebrate Esau's holidays, right? You see your family, but you just always just 365 days throughout the whole year. So why do you choose? That's how the Lord ain't dealing with Jake. Because if the Lord was with you, you wouldn't be doing this. American school children typically learn that the tradition dates back to the Pilgrims who helped establish Plymouth colony in 1620 in what is now Massachusetts. As the story goes, friendly American Indian locals swooped in to teach the struggling colonists how to survive in what Europeans called the New World. So Esau was dirty and sick, right? Esau took advantage of their hospitality, called the New World, and everyone got together to celebrate with a feast in 1621. Thanksgiving 2021 would mark the 400th anniversary of that first American Thanksgiving. But in reality, Thanksgiving feasts predate Plymouth, and the peace celebrated that day with tennis. The real history behind the holiday is so dark, in fact, that some people are rethinking how they celebrate the holiday or whether they should at all. Because it's a lie. You read all these little, I was in elementary school. I used to read these colorful books with the Native Americans and the Pilgrims, but yet they would get along eating turkey together. That's a lie. Right? He raped, robbed, murdered. He put smallpox in their blankets, right? Used a Gatling gun on them. The Plymouth Thanksgiving of 1621 wasn't the first. Settlers in Berkeley Hundred in what is now Virginia celebrated their arrival with a Thanksgiving as far back as 1619, according to the National Geographic. Though the Washington reported the meal was probably little more than some oysters and ham thrown together. Alright. I'm gonna keep going down. Okay, now this is the day. Others pinpoint 1637 as the true origin of Thanksgiving, since the Massachusetts Bay Colony's governor, John Winthrop, declared a day to celebrate colonial soldier who had just slaughtered hundreds of Pequot men and women and children in what is now Mystic, Connecticut. Regardless, the popular telling of the initial harvest festival is what lived on, thanks to Abraham Lincoln. So basically, even telling you that they're celebrating the slaughter of Gad, right, in Connecticut before it was called Connecticut, women and children. The enduring holiday has also nearly erased from our collective memory what happened between the Wampanoag and the English a generation later. Massasoit, the Wampanoag paramount chief allied with the English settlers after Plymouth was established and fought with the newcomers against the French and other local tribes, but their lands became strained over time. 1,000 more English colonists moved to Plymouth, taking over more land. Authorities asserted control power most aspects of Wampanoag life. According to historical context, Indian people and colonists in northeastern United States. A study published in Journal Coronary Science Reviews estimated that the disease had already reduced New England indigenous population by 90%. But by 1620, the Wampanoag continued to die from what the colonists called Indian fever, an unknown disease brought by early European settlers. Esau was a walking plague, whether Esau knew it or not, but the scriptures tell us he's destined, he walks about seeking whom, he's saying like a roaring lion, Esau is just a walking plague, you know. He's like death. He desire, he's just like as death, never satisfied. And what else did it say that he was taking over more land in Plymouth, And the disease Esau came with also was killing him off. What is this? Oh wait, this is... Alright, I'm gonna get into the scripture. Psalm 55 and 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart, Smoother than butter. He came over, gave him blankets, right? He needs help, he's sick. And he just waits for them. He waits for the men to leave their village, then he burns it to the ground. But war was in his heart, right? He waited for the men to go hunting. Then he burned the natives in their own villages. His words were soft and oil, yet were they drawn swords. So they were Esau was lying. He's being deceptive. He tricked the natives, he deceived them. The guy thought, I guess they thought they were doing Esau, man. Takes advantage of people's hospitality. You can't trust Esau. He's an asshole, Give him a piece of land, he asks for more. Then you tell him you gotta buy the land now. And then that's what he just takes it all. He's a demon. He's the deceptive. He's the serpent, right? Ezekiel 35 and 5. Because thou had a perpetual hatred and had shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in this time of the calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Right? had a perpetual hatred towards Israel. Stole this whole country. Esau didn't take a, Esau didn't take land. You thought he would just take a state or a piece of, I don't know, a city-sized land, take a whole state. No, no, no. He took everything. He took everything. Um, so wait, let me remember. Jeremiah 49:9. If grape gatherers come to thee, will they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have. Oh wait. Oh, wait, that's good. Jeremiah 49:9. Jeremiah 49:9 to 12. If grape gatherers come to thee, would they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. You know, basically questioning. Basically giving you a question. You got some thieves who just take I don't know, your furniture, right? Or your clothes. And still have stuff for you behind is so like basically asking you if grape gatherers come to thee, will they not leave some gleaning grapes? If thieves by night, they will destroy till they have enough. So basically, you know, there's gonna be grape gatherer, basically give you an example of Esau. Question like there's grape gatherers, right? Wouldn't they leave you something left before when they leave? Or thieves by night, will they destroy till they have enough, right? Like someone at some point you have enough and you know this. But Esau, let me go down. But have made Esau bare, have uncovered the secret place, and he shall not be able to hide himself. His seed is spoiled, his brethren, his neighbors, and he is not. Leave thy fatherless children, I will preserve them alive, and let thy widows trust in me. For thus saith the Lord, behold, thy whose judgment was not to drink of the cup have surely drunken, and art thou, he shall altogether go unpunished, thou shalt not go unpunished, but thou shalt surely drink of it. So Esau, he's greedy. This goes into how he stole the America, right? Enslaved Judah, all the tribes ultimately, he slaughtered most of Gad, pushed Issachar into Mexico from from the southern side of the United States. But the Lord's uncovering his secret places. He's not gonna be able to hide himself. What do you what does he mean by that? Look, because he's being exposed on every level. Something right now called the critical race theory. So lucky. There's something right now called the critical race theory. Everybody's waking up to Esau's wickedness. Esau's even getting tired of Esau. I be seeing Edomites even talking about their white privilege. Esau even knows he has privilege in this country, How commonly was smallpox used as a biological weapon? Once introduced into America, smallpox spread everywhere. Is it possible to know how often that was done intended to kill people? So basically, it happened. I'm gonna read from the top. Debates over whether General Jeffrey Amherst ordered his subordinates to infect Native Americans with smallpox in 1763 has been long raged. The right scholar Elizabeth, a preoccupation with Amherst has kept us from recognizing the accusation of what we now call biological warfare. The military use of smallpox in particular rose frequently in 18th century America. By the second half of the 18th century, many of the combatants in American wars of empire had the knowledge and technology to attempt biological warfare with the smallpox virus, Finn writes. Actual incidents of intentional smallpox infection may have occurred more frequently than scholars have previously acknowledged. So Esau was using it, smallpox, more frequently. You know, the actual incidence of intentional smallpox infection may have occurred more frequently than scholars have previously acknowledged. According to Finn, threats of infection were also certainly used, and not just by military force against indigenous people. The Fort Pitt case is infamous. In June 1763, the fort was besieged during Pontiac's rebellion. Soldiers and civilians in the fort had smallpox, as did some of the Native Americans outside. Two Delaware dignitaries in Fort for parley were given two blankets and a handkerchief out of the smallpox hospital when they left the road to trader and land speculator William Trent in his diary. He concluded, I hope it will have the desired effect. Esau is a demon, you know? So basically, Esau sacrificed his own men, right, to get to the natives, to Gad. Finn thinks it was likely that Fort Pitt personnel conceived of the idea independently of commanding officers everywhere, but within weeks, Amherst was on record proving that weaponizing smallpox as one of the methods that can serve to extirpate the execrable race. Smallpox was the most fearsome disease known in the 18th century. Its fatality rate was between 20 and 30%, caused by the variola virus. It would be contained at last by vaccination after the very last year. You wouldn't need no vaccination if you just didn't bring it over here. Esau's a damn demon. Why don't you take the vaccine? It's all in his vaccine. No one wants your vaccines. After the very last year of the century before that, the risker method of incoc- in inoculation, also known as variolation, was used. This was intentional infection of an open wound which produced a mild form of disease. Those who survived smallpox might be literally scarred, but they did have one great advantage from being infected: lifelong immunity. Even, I'm gonna get this right now. The best evidence for intentional spread after Fort Pitt comes from the last campaign of the Revolutionary War. British General Alexander Leslie, commander in July 1781, about 700 Negroes had come down the river in the smallpox. I tried to distribute them about the rebel plantation. The fact that these people attempting to escape slavery could spread the disease could not have been lost on British commanders. So Esau was weaponizing this even after the native. He used it on Jacob from the southern tribe also. So Esau ain't gonna get away with this. And this is what you're celebrating. Abuse was rife in government-funded programs in America and Canada. Radar has unearthed over 1,300 unmarked graves in Canada in recent months on sites of 5 former residential schools for Indigenous children. In response, protesters tore down statues of colonial-era figures, and some cities canceled Canada Day celebration. So I'm gonna start in the mid 1800s, the American government forced indigenous people westward off into barren places so as to take their land. Many Native Americans died en route. About one-fifth of the Cherokee tribe, one of the several groups removed, perished on the so-called Trail of Tears. The U.S. Armed Forces battled or massacred tribes that resisted, but that policy was expensive. In 1870, the United States was spending 20 million a year, 450 million today, on its Indian wars, and as white settlers moved west, some worried that the country was running out of space to relocate Native Americans. Instead, the government turned to forced assimilation in the mid to late 1800s, began funding boarding schools for indigenous children on a large scale. The purpose of the schools was to kill the Indian and save the man. So basically, Esau said this: "There's not enough land. We are taking too much of their land, and we don't know where to relocate them. Let's put them in Canada." That's basically what he's basically saying. Look at this, running out of space. That's what it's talking about, gleaning grapes. Esau. There's another Bible verse. Mm, oh, I forgot that scripture. Um, Hebrews, Hebrews. Mm, what? Where's Hebrews? Oh, it's Habakkuk. Habakkuk 2 and 5. Yea, also because he transgressed by wine, he's a proud man. Neither keepeth at home. You know, Esau never minded his business. Came down from Great Britain. You know, who his largest desire is hell, and is at death and cannot be satisfied. He's never satisfied. What did they just say? They relocated Native American children to Canada boarding schools because they didn't have enough land to relocate. Esau stole everything. He doesn't know what to do now, so he's just throwing them. There's too much land. Esau took too much land. Esau saying, I took too much land. I don't know where to relocate them. Let's just throw them in. Let's throw them to Canada. But gathereth unto him all nation, heapeth unto him all people. That's him. He's trying to consume everything. He's never satisfied, right? After reading all of that, Jake will still find a way to celebrate Thanksgiving. It's madness, right? You know, it's amazing that we're in this day and age where knowledge should be increasing, but Jake's knowledge is decreasing, or it's still at the same. It it's like history, and you still refuse to like just do the right thing. And get Amos chapter 5 verse 21. I despise your feast days, and I will not smell in your solemn assemblies. Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them. Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beasts. Take thou away from me the noise of thy songs, for I will not hear the melody of thy vows. So the Lord's gonna hate your feast days, because Jake want to celebrate Esau's holidays, want to celebrate Christmas, Halloween, Thanksgiving. Jake eating turkey and mac and cheese, Thursday, right? And this is not our rest. This is not our holiday. These are not our feasts. This is Esau. You're basically celebrating your enemies conquering you. That's how stupid you are. Sawdust children, you know. You're gonna celebrate Esau's Esau's reign on us. You're basically celebrating your own downfall. Bottles up for like got the champagne, the cognac's out. Jake got the wine, like drinking at the table. Like, yeah, this is not knowing that your ancestors are rolling in their graves right now, seeing you celebrate your own downfall. You're a moron. You know, Jake through. You gotta come back to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, repent, and stop following after Esau's customs. You know, and that's it on that. You know, 'cause, like there's blankets with smallpox, children getting killed, sexually harassed, right? And all this is happening to the natives, and you're still celebrating this day. Come on now, Gad. So-called Native Americans, which are Gad. You're still celebrating your own people falling. What are you doing? You don't know what you're doing because you're dumb. It's come on, bro. It's the time to eat of the year. Like, no, it's the time you chose to eat. It's Esau's time to eat, not yours. Jake is dumb, man. Celebrating your own brother's fall. Are we not our brother's keeper, right? But I don't want to end it with that. And give all praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, double honors to the elders, great millstone, and salutations to all y'all coming to the house and bowers. The next one is Shalom.